Hello again, welcome back to the potting shed, and today I want to talk to you about my bonsai ivy. This is a plant that I haven't featured on the channel for quite some time now, and so some viewers, new viewers to the channel, may not be aware of this. So I thought I'd do an update. It needs a bit of a prune anyway. It's had a flush of spring and summer, early summer growth, and so it's ready for a little bit of a haircut, and I thought I would introduce it to the newer viewers to the channel, explain a little bit about it, and I'll also let you know how you can grow a plant like this very simply at home into a magnificent bonsai tree as well. Are you ready? Let's get started. So a little bit about this tree. I've been growing it, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I would only be guessing. I don't really have any way of looking back of how long, but it's going to be an absolute minimum of 7 years, probably over 10 years. And whenever I try and figure these things out, it's almost always longer than I realize. So it could be even longer. That could be 12 years. But essentially, I'll show you some pictures on the screen now. I grew this from a tiny little plant that was a volunteer in my garden, something that just probably a seed that got dropped or something like that, and I saw it in the garden and I thought it would make a fun project to try and make a bonsai tree out of it. The picture that you can see is exactly the same size of how this started, and then as you can see, the second picture gives you an idea of more or less how it looks now. That picture was taken about 2 years ago, something like that. So this is slightly further on. We can do a comparison at the end once I've trimmed it up, and we can see how much it's grown since. Let's get started with the trimming, and I'll talk a little bit more about it as we go along. So all I've really done, as you can see from the picture, the very basic sort of walking stick shape of a main trunk, and then it curled over with a small one single branch coming out, remains the same. The essential shape, I don't know how good you can get in there, you can see the side branch, the lower side branch, you'll see it better when I prune it, and then the overall shape here. All I've done is given it a pot to grow in, kept an eye on it, and cut off any branches that I didn't want, and it's just grown thicker and bigger and stronger. And when you get to the sort of size that you want, then you're just maintaining the shape at that stage. So it is actually a very simple process. So every year, all I do is go through and cut off any old, dead or decaying leaves and branches. It naturally wants to climb. So you'll see these sort of pieces coming out at the end here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but they're naturally trying to elongate. So all I do is I just bring this back a little bit, that's all. Bring it back to a point just to bring it in a little bit. We don't need it constantly getting longer and longer, so I find these tendrils, if you like, and I just cut them back a little bit. You're always cutting back to a branch that has a leaf coming out of it. So cut it back to a node. There's loads of leaves on all of these branches, so it's not an issue. But you don't want to cut it back past the last leaf. You could risk losing the branch. But it's a very simple process. Just cutting back some of the bigger leaves. There's a dead leaf there, it's already fallen off. And then the thing to maintain the look as well, if you can see that, anything hanging down below is going to come off as well, because we want to keep this negative space here. So any leaves that might be hanging down get removed, any leaves starting to hang down get removed, and any branches growing down will also get removed. And like I said, I'm going through some of the older leaves. As the leaves get older, they get bigger. So I'm just taking those out. The fresher, newer leaves will be smaller. There's another tendril that can come out. Now this is all personal preference really at this stage. We're just maintaining. There's a bigger leaf. Now this is the branch, and I want to cut this right back because I want to show some negative space in between here. There needs to be some separation between the lower canopy and this branch here, so I'm going to take a lot of weight off of this lower branch structure so you can see the difference. So there's a big leaf there, and that one's growing up, can come out. Now I've taken 3/4 of the weight off of that now. I think I'll take that one as well. So there's only small young leaves on here, but it'll still grow quite strongly throughout the summer. So that will be fine, that will thicken up a bit, but I want to just keep the foliage pad tight there, and then some of the bigger leaves around it to create that negative space. There's some leaves coming down here. As we prune a bonsai tree like this, we're stimulating new growth. So you'll get a denser habit as well, which is why we have quite a thick canopy on this, because I regularly prune it a couple of times a season. In the spring after the initial growth, about now, I'll prune it, and then maybe towards the end of the summer I'll prune it again, and that just stimulates more healthy, vibrant growth, and a strong growing plant is a happy plant. So this is all you need to do. It's very simple, and it also maintains the look and promotes steady growth. Now I'm going to keep it in this pot. It's been in this pot for a few years, but as I say, they're fairly slow growing anyway. I don't think there'll be a massive rush to repot this at the moment. I might think about it next year, but you know, putting my hands in here, it is not a massive tight knit of roots yet, so it's not pot bound or anything. So happy to leave it as it is. As we can see now, I hope you can see from that angle, we're getting a nice piece of space between the lower branch and the canopy now, which is what I was looking for. Again, I'm just going around the periphery of the main piece here, and I'm just bringing it back because there's this section here that's growing underneath and out. This whole branch is just continuing to grow longer, and we don't need it any longer because it's just making the whole canopy longer than it needs to be. So I'm just going to cut that back. There we go. I mean, this is totally subjective. It's totally up to you how you want to style your plant and what you want it to look like. I want to keep the dense habit of this particular plant, so that's how I'm just keeping the edges from getting wider, because if I leave it, this is just going to get bigger and bigger, and then the scale won't be right. The scale compared to the thickness of the trunk will be wrong. So that's all I'm doing, is just keeping these outer edges in check. I'll show you again. This is how it grows with these sort of scrambling vining sections here, and it obviously goes under and then up for the light, and these are the pieces that we're just keeping in check. As you can see, because of the light from the canopy, the leaves only go back to here, so we're only going as far back as we've got some live leaves. We don't want to bring it too far, or we may lose the branch. Yeah, that's fine. So we can bring that back to there. So you can see some lovely variegation on this ivy. It's some really nice leaf colours. You've got these ones which are completely a different colour, and then I tell you, lots of different varieties in there as well. It's actually, it's a very nice variegation. See, this whole section here is standing proud. I don't know if you could see that as I've now gone into it. This whole bit is like a clump that's grown, so that's going to be reduced. I also don't want to leave a massive hole in it, although it will fill in as the new growth comes in. I still want to maintain the overall look, so you just have to bear that in mind as well. Are there leaves below it? In this case, yes. That's a nice little leaf there. So I'm going to chop it about there. And this one as well. So that whole hump now has been reduced completely. This is sticking out. We have leaves further down, so that's coming out. So that has now totally flattened that area. We've got a bigger leaf there. That one is already off. They're just taking the weight out of the canopy, so it looks less like a mop and more like a flat tree. That's what I'm aiming for anyway. But I just figure it out as I go generally. By no means an expert. The other thing you can do, which I find quite useful if you're not sure and you're looking at the overall size, I still think that's too wide for me at the moment. If you try and select the piece that you may be thinking about taking out, and just put your hand over it, and then you can look at the overall result once it's not there. Is it gonna be too much? Is it gonna leave a gap? Is it not gonna be balanced enough? So it's actually quite handy to do that to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. So in this case, I'm going to take this whole section out here because it's really feeling like it's gone too wide at the moment, and I'm just bringing the width back again. So I'm going to take this whole piece out here. I'm going to bring it back to these branches because these are still actively growing. It's just taking a lot of width, a lot of weight out of that. Same for this one. Annoyingly, some of the branches that I want to reduce have got the really nice variegation on them, but I'm sure we'll get some new nicer leaves the same. So for now, I'm just taking them off just to bring back the overall shape. Yep, I think I'm going to take a lot of this out as well from the side because the overall shape was coming up and leaning over this way. And obviously you can see the trunk a lot better now, which is nice. But this is all developed over this side, and then to me, I like the progression over here with the flat bottom, and I think this doesn't add too much to it other than making a big flat plane. So personally, I think we're going to take out a lot of weight from here that has just built up over the years. Let's bring it right in. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. Literally going to come right in here, I think. Yeah, my word. Sometimes you just have to do some crazy stuff. It'll all grow back anyway. Which means this will have to come in as well. And I think that will accent this side branch a bit better as well. Okay, I think we're getting close. What do you think? That's a big reduction, isn't it? But I'm happier with that. Much happier with that. Now, you could still mess around with it some more, but that was basically a lot more to my original image of coming up and then sort of coming over like that. That's looking much better now, and once it fills in a bit with some fresh growth, I think that's pretty good. That's much closer to where I want it to be. So there we have it. This is my freshly shorn bonsai tree. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you want to grow a plant similar to this, you can pick up an ivy seedling just like the one in my first picture from garden centres. You'll even find it just growing in your garden or even at the side of the road. So look out for the common or the variegated type of ivy, and why not give this a go? Have you got a bonsai that you've created from an interesting or different plant like this ivy? Always interesting to hear your comments and your stories in the comments down below. And please give it a thumbs up if you found it useful, interesting or helpful, and subscribe for more houseplant related videos coming along very soon. Bye for now.